Well, here we are, together again by the warm, toasty fire of passion for video games. This is the state of the Galaxies, 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 Galaxies. I see Timmel. I see Zaz Kag. Who else do I got in the chat? Who else is prompt in the chat to get the latest and greatest goods? You like how we have like cool camera motion now? It's like the production value. See, I'm just doing everything I can to catch up to settle it on the screen. So now I got moving cameras because I don't have cool like sponsors and like the stuff that they have. Like they eat like treats and snacks and stuff. Oh, Anonymous, what's up? The Champ 2025, Boss Hog. Where's Rick Fox? Where's Rick? What did he call? He texted me. I don't know where he's at. He might be on a plane right now, going to Atlanta. Methinks. Well, we got some new faces. What's up? Plague Marine 7. The Marines have a plague. I was in the Marines. All right. Let's see here. For those of you who are just joining, and this is your first State of the Galaxies, let me sort of explain what it is. Because some of you guys have shown up, like, gone to Twin Galaxies Live, seen some cool programming, and now you're here, and what's going on, what's going on? Well, see, Twin Galaxies is sort of this ever-growing community of people who are very interested in video game achievements, competition, competitive gaming in general. A lot of people say esports, but in many people's minds, esports really only is like 6 or 7 games, League of Legends, Dota 2, stuff like that. But video game playing is much wider than sort of that sort of recent esport terminology. So, let's call it just competitive gaming, and that's everything from mobile phones to arcades to pinball machines. And it's the vast majority of video game playing. And Twin Galaxies is there to recognize all of the achievement that's taking place there, and then create a conduit for those players to actually get a chance at recognition, economic opportunity. To be able to have this referential data point that companies can look at and go, wow, this is a video game champion. So that you're not always tied to the marketing campaigns of specific video games, and that's the limit of your opportunity. How are you supposed to build a career playing video games if that's how the economics work? It's just not right. So Twin Galaxies is sort of becoming the IMDb of video game players. It's really what and all the achievements in there, qualified, reviewed, and that sort of stuff. So that's what this is. So the State of the Galaxies is the program that just sort of talks about what's going on in the community, on the website, twingalaxies.com. Just a little answering some questions. It's just sort of like a friendly, let's all gather around the fire and just communicate a little bit. That's what this is. So there you go. Hopefully that made sense. Let me take a look at the chat. What's going on? Past episodes of State of the Galaxies is on iTunes audio format now. Nick must be working. What's up, Kid Flash? Welcome. What do you want me to do? Just do this? All right, I'm doing that. There we go. Okay, so let's go through this State of the Galaxies. This isn't like too big of a heavy one, but if you guys want to talk to me directly, you can Skype in by just typing TG Live 1, TG Live 2. I'll be able to hear you immediately, and the audience will be able to hear your questions. So you're welcome to come in and talk to me. So please do that so we can have more conversation. Timmel, you should jump in. All right, here we go. So the first thing is back in January, we ran the Right to Game campaign and raised some money and got lots of exposure and support, and we've been doing the fulfillment for it. One of the big wanted items was a Twin Galaxies hoodie inside of a game called H1Z1, and we've had to fulfill on an individual hand basis emails out to every single contributor. So the good news is we've got all those out. Physical stuff has been being sent out. If you're on different tiers, it has stuff. We're waiting on the physical hoodies to be created. They're in process. Probably a couple weeks away from delivery on that, like in t-shirts and stuff. So we should be able to have everything fulfilled and out to everybody by the end of March, based on what we're waiting on. There's going to be an addition to the Twin Galaxies website with the founders page and some badges and stuff, so that the people who contributed at that level will be there. And once that page is made, that's it. It's no one gets that be added. It's like a permanent tome for those that stepped up to support. And there was actually a tier where I would create a little custom rap song for you. So there's a few of those that I need to do, and I've got some of the information about that, and that's going to be good and fun and personal. So we're doing that. So just all good on the Eastern Seaboard for this. Let's keep on going. So there is a tournament that is taking place at Twin Galaxies. If you didn't know, if you type in tournaments.twingalaxies.com, you'll go to the tournament side of Twin Galaxies. Right now, there's this multi-game tournament going on called the Yo-Olympics, or some people might say Y-Olympics. And there's teams, basically teams of video game players that have gotten together and they're competing across all bunch of different kinds of classic games. And 2 weeks ago, I showed the team leaderboard what the standings were, and actually Verizontal was in second place, but now Better Off Fred is in second place. So we're seeing some shifting going on here, and we're coming in towards the end of the Olympics. So it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to come away with this, and I know that there's trophies that are going to be given out, and I'm waiting to hear from Don Atreides, who's been doing a great job of trying to sort of corral what those awards would be, so we can help him with all of that. But this is all good. You should check it out. There's some really cool performances that you can click and watch. People putting up some pretty big scores in these games. But that is the latest. Right now, the true champions are in number one. I see that the logo of True Champions is the same logo of Lexmark, John Petrick, who is rumored to know how to play Zookeeper. It's a rumor. So that's what's going on with that. Let's keep going, shall we? Fun stuff ahead. Leaderboards. Now, as you have probably seen when you go to Twin Galaxies, all these different ESI and PSI leaderboards are now made available at different levels of the scoreboard. So, and we have like sort of the full strata of how to look at this stuff, right? If you go to, let's say you go to Donkey Kong, you can go all the way down, like let's say arcade Donkey Kong, you can go all the way down and then there's the track of how you want to compete. Most points. So you go to that one. So there you get your rankings on that specific track variation of the people who are competing. One level up from that would be, well, there's 5 or 6 different variations of how to compete on Donkey Kong. What if we are able to calculate what the total achievement is there? So that's what we actually have in terms of ESI and PSI. So there is actually a leaderboard that's for the Donkey Kong arcade total PSI and ESI that's generated from all of that. So you can see specific variation, you can see the whole game itself, and then up from that you have the whole platform. So Arcade as a platform, who's sitting on top from an ESI and a PSI perspective across all of Arcade. So that's there too. One of the things that's been talked about is the fact that missing from these charts are players that are in the database with scores, but you see they don't have Twin Galaxies accounts. How could this be? Well, Twin Galaxies is 30 years old. So for 30 years, it's been accumulating scores, right? And so those people and their names are in the database. But when we move to the new era of Twin Galaxies, we also have a separate database, which is actually your Twin Galaxies account. Your name, your password, your forum posting, all that other stuff. Now, we link these two things together so that if you happen to have scores historically in the database and then you come to Twin Galaxies, you're able to say, oh, that's me, and then we link them, and then we know that that's you, and then our ESI and PSI computation will then take all your scores into account. But if there is no corresponding user account, and there's just a name in the database, right now the system isn't generating any ESI for the person, the player, because there's no one to reference. So you're looking at these leaderboards and you're going, well, wow, there's really some great players missing from these leaderboards. Well, that's why. So we've been working on fixing that, and we'll have that fixed and implemented by tomorrow, I think. So that guys like Tom Duncan, who don't show up in the leaderboard, suddenly will, and literally you will now be able to compare your PSI and ESI against 30 years of data of scores that have come in to Twin Galaxies where ESI and PSI is generated for those as well. And then you're going to get a total landscape view of every single Twin Galaxies database entry being measured equally amongst each other. And then that will help to extrude, well, here you go. Here's who the best players are, because everybody's being measured exactly the same way. So give us till tomorrow to get that working, and that should be a good thing. But so far, I think the feedback on the leaderboards and having them, I think, has been positive. I think it's increasing competition on Twin Galaxies. And this is just one, it's just, again, it's the very beginning of some of the filtering that is being built into Twin Galaxies so that you really can pull out the information that you want about the players that you're interested in comparing or seeing where you are relative to other things. This is just, we're working on this constantly, every single day. So hopefully you guys thought it was cool. Boss Hog, I've tried to find the H1Z leaderboards but can never find them. Listen. It's very simple. Go to Twin Galaxies, go to the submit, use a drop-down menu. Here, I'll do it. Let's do it. Okay? If I can get to the desktop. Here we go. Here we go. All right, so we will go to Twin Galaxies. You don't have to be logged in or anything. So here I am at Twin Galaxies. It's the front page. You see the leaderboards and all this stuff. Very top is a menu, drop-down menu. You just click Scores, Ranks, and say, oh, I want to submit to H1Z1. You click the Submit Score, right? And then it presents you with all these different platforms. Now you play H1Z1 on a PC, right? So you can either scroll down and actually look for the PC right here, see where it says PC, or if you can search by platform and just type in PC, and then all the PC platforms will show up. Then you click PC, right? That takes you into PC. So now we're in the PC universe, and you want H1Z1. See, all the games are starting to be listed. You can simply type in, search by game name, H1Z1, and hit go, or enter. And then it says H1Z1 right here, and when you click View, it will then show you H1Z1. It'll show you who is currently sitting in the skill index, and then you see all the different ways to compete. This is H1Z1 Battle Royale, most kills, shotgun only, regular server. So if you wanted to see that leaderboard, you'd click Show. And right now, Jacob Hash is the only one sitting on it in number 1. He got 19 shotgun kills. The rules for the game are in here. If you wanted to submit on it, you would just click submit, and that would take you through the process of submitting your score. But if you're like, oh, Jacob, he's ranked 1 and he got 19 points, what did he do? If you click that, it will take you to the actual performance, and you can actually watch Jacob get the 19 kills, so you know that it's legit, and you can see all the commentary and adjudication on it. So that's how you do it. Hopefully that made sense. I will get back to my cool presentation of coolness. There you go. So let me look at the chat for a second. I got a question for you about H1Z1. Do you think we'll ever run an H1Z1 tournament like an invitational that was ran with Daybreak, maybe even a twos tournament? I feel like we should put a private server so we could do a taunt fest on that even. I'm just sure. I will say this, that Twin Galaxies is not game specific. So if it ever does a tournament, it will likely include multiple games on multiple platforms. Not to say that you have to compete on all of them, but over here in the left corner is H1Z1 taking place. Over here in the right corner is Android, iPhone. Back over here is arcade. More like an Olympics style event. If Twin Galaxies itself is going to put it on. Now, Twin Galaxies will support tournaments that are out there. And for various games, we'd have to talk about what that would mean. But yes, the idea is to help all of these different gaming communities, H1Z1 included, to grow and for these champions to be recognized, because there's so much talent out there that's just not getting the limelight that it needs. And I think Twin Galaxies is in that position to do it. So we're starting baby steps. I like your question. Your question is heading in the right direction, and we are thinking about those kinds of things. So let's see. I'm looking at the chat. Yeah, Jerk Chicken has 28 kills. So Anonymous, here's the thing. When you submit a performance into Twin Galaxies, it doesn't just go into the leaderboard. It first has to be vetted by all the people who are in the Twin Galaxies community. They look at the evidence presented to see if there's cheating, are there ESP programs in use? All these sorts of things are looked at. And so that takes time. It could take a week and a half for something to come in, be vetted, and then verified, okay, it's valid, and then put into the leaderboard. Jacob was the first one to submit, so he's made it through the entire process and he's in there. Jerk Chicken's performance is still in the adjudication process. So until it passes muster, it's not official. And as far as I'm concerned, unless a performance is passing muster, it's just someone saying that they did it. That's the bottom line. Do I worry about hackers in H1Z1? You always worry about hackers, but the good news is when reviewing a performance in an MMO like H1Z1, it's very easy to identify if cheating is going on, because they do not have control over the game system. They only have control over their client. So, it's much harder to manipulate than if you own, the entire arcade machine, and you can do anything you want to it. That's why when people are submitting things for arcade, there's a lot of scrutiny put on. Let us see your board set. Let us see the controls. Let us see everything, because as the arcade community who's really experienced in this stuff, they know how far someone will go to try to manipulate a score. So, taking the ability to manipulate the game out of the player's hands and keeping it on a server, it definitely helps reduce down the cheating, or the ability to get away with cheating when someone is watching. So, Boss Hog, the Taunt Fest. Yeah, the Taunt Fest is going to keep growing. We're going to get to that in a second. We're going to get to that. Let me keep going in my presentation here. So, speed running, fastest completion. Now, for those of you who don't know, the gentleman on the screen is a member of the Twin Galaxies community. His name is Jesse Porter. He is a very, very good video game champion. He plays, he's got mad skills, and he became outraged. So that's a screenshot of his outrage. Do you see his outrage? It's outrage. He made a video, and his video is said, Why ESI is Broken and What Makes Games Hard. Okay. Let me talk just a little bit about this. So, if you're a video game player and you want to build a career in playing video games, your career is going to span multiple video games over time. Twin Galaxies is now that place that can capture your achievement in every video game that you play and bank it so that people then later can look and see what your accomplishments have been, as opposed to only being tied to one video game, and once that video game is gone, so is your career. So in that way, which I said earlier, Twin Galaxies is like this IMDb of for video game players. So you have this list of all the different things that you've made accomplishments on. Well, what Twin Galaxies can do and does is it's able to compute an index on the basis of all of your achievements across all the different video games. And it computes that index against everybody else who's doing the same thing. And what it's measuring is how many people you're beating relative to your accomplishment. It's not trying to measure how hard the game is. It's not trying to measure how hard the genre is. It is simply looking at the fact that if you competed on a leaderboard with 1,000 people and that you're number one, you're beating 1,000 people. Anyway, PSI is that computation. The player skill index is the computation of how many people are you beating. So when you see someone's number, PSI number, you're actually seeing there is a human body, basically, on a leaderboard that person is beating in order to get 1 point in that PSI number. Now there's a special bonus if you're in first place, because aside from just getting a point for beating someone, you're also going to get a percentage kick boost of how bad you're beating everybody else in some total. So that adds to your bonus. So let me give you an example of that is, I'm in first place, and then there's 9 other people on the leaderboard. So there's 10 of us, okay? I automatically get 9 points because I'm over 9 people. But my score, let's say my score is 100 points. If my actual score in the video game is 100 points, but then everybody else's score, let's just say, is 50 points, to keep it simple, a percentage is calculated between me versus the rest of the group. So we look at the rest of the group and we say, what is their average score? 50. Then we say, well, what percentage of this average score is versus the number one player? In this case, it's very easy math. It's 50%. So then what happens is my 9 points, I get 9 points plus a 50% boost of my 9 points on top of that. So I wind up getting something like, what would it be? Half a 9, 4.5, 13.5 points for being number one. Don't want to bore you with the math. Something like that. Anyway, because PSI is measured across all of the placements, you can build your PSI up by being on a bunch of leaderboards in relative positions. You don't have to be number one or anything, and you can get so through the volume of your video game playing, you can build your PSI up. And that's one way to look at the skill index of different players. ESI is different. ESI is the same type of calculation, but it ignores all placements other than number one. So it's only looking at people in the number one ranked positions and what their PSI calculation would be just based on their number one standing. So it becomes a very, very clear way of seeing who is on top, not based on the volume, the number of games that they're playing, but based on what standings they have specifically on the game, the number one standing. So Jesse got very upset because he really looks at ESI as the determiner here, and what he found is well, if there is not a lot of competition on a leaderboard, then the most points I can get for something is very low. But some of the games that I'm doing in speedrunning are, by their very nature, prohibitive of creating competition, particularly the speedrunning fastest completion of a video game, right? And so he's outraged by this because, and he has a valid point, because look, if you have a speedrun leaderboard where it's fastest time to complete Sonic the Hedgehog, if you don't even have the skills to complete Sonic the Hedgehog, you can't even get on the leaderboard. Okay, so that naturally narrows down how many people are going to be able to compete, because you have to be good enough to finish Sonic and then compete about who can do it the fastest. So what happens is a lot of the games that he plays are fastest completion of entire games, but since he's like one of the only people who can do it, or one of the few who can do it, there's only a few people on the leaderboard, so he can't build his ESI doing that. And so what you're seeing on the screen is a face of outrage. Now, that concept also applies to marathons, video game, because there are Twin Galaxies leaderboards that are literally marathons, like Nibbler or what have you. How many people can stand for 55 hours at a Nibbler machine to just compete on that leaderboard? I don't know, 5. So does that mean that there's only so many points that can come out of a marathon leaderboard? These are valid points. And so we're going to be looking specifically at ESI as it relates to this issue and working on a solution that makes logical sense. In order to, you have to account for some of this. It's a very, very slippery slope. So a lot of thought has to go into it. Because one of the things that we've been trying to avoid is getting into a situation where we're trying to determine whether a game is hard or not. Because that's subjective. So we are looking at that, and so Jesse and his outrage will be less outraged, and that is the latest story on that. I hope that made sense. Okay, so let me keep going. Will you ever fix the pictures for the games in the world rankings? Will verified users ever be able to add pictures to the games like I said 9 months ago? All right, so here's what he's talking about. In case you're watching, you don't know what the hell he's talking about. If you go to the database and you pick a game. So I'm going into the arcade, and let's say I pick Donkey Kong. All right, here's the different arcade Donkey Kong games. I click that. Normal Donkey Kong. Okay, you see these pictures here? These are the pictures that the question is talking about. The database is huge, and there are we've had thousands of pictures put in. But what he's saying is, we used to have it so that the users could actually add the pictures, but it became a problem because some users would put in the wrong pictures, and so then you spend more time removing the pictures and all this other stuff. So we stopped that ability. I think we've reached a time where we can enable this ability again, but it will be, I think what it will be, I'm still thinking about how to do this, but I really think it should be based on credibility. if you've reached a certain level of credibility, you then become enabled to upload pictures for the database and stuff like that. The question is, do you just have some minimum credibility and then anyone can do it, or do you make it so that there's a minimum credibility, but if someone with a higher credibility than you put the picture in, you can't change what they put in. Do you see? Because what will happen is you put in a picture and then someone comes by and goes, oh, I'm going to put in a different picture. And so they change the picture and you get into all this picture swapping. Do you put limitations on it that basically says, look, my credibility is 2200. I'm putting in the Donkey Kong picture, right? And then someone shows up and they have a credibility of 2100 and they click and they say, oh, sorry, you can't change this picture because someone who has credibility of 2200 put this picture up and you can't change what they said, right? But someone else could come in with a credibility of 5,000 and say, oh, I can change it, no problem, blah, blah, blah. But once they do it, you need credibility of 5,000 or higher to change the picture. I don't know. I'm going to look into it. But I definitely think credibility will be the determining factor for whether or not you're going to be able to upload pictures into the database like that. Hello, Spinal Wolf. Hello. You can call in on Skype if you want to talk to me. Just Skype, TG Live 1. Just all you got to do is type it into your Skype. All right. So I hope that made sense regarding the pictures. Let's move on. Is there a possible adjustment in the future to average out a player's ESI and PSI score within one game before adding that number to the console overall leaderboards? Okay. Timmel, if you're still there. And if you want to Skype in and talk to me about this more, we can talk about it. The problem with averaging is that it effectively reduces, averaging always brings your total down. So, this gets into this common theme that exists where video, where the user base is suggesting that we limit, instead of measuring achievement at the video game track variation level. This is attempting, our smallest unit of measurement is a one track, one variation. Donkey Kong points using the hammer, boom, for arcade. That's one track. That's our smallest unit of achievement measurement. What this would be, an averaging would basically mean that the smallest unit would be a game itself. Because if you have 10 different ways to compete on Donkey Kong and you put in 10 different scores, but then you average them, and that's the number that you produce as the number for the game, then basically your smallest unit of measurement is the game. It's not these. And then what happens is, if that creates a maximum point yield for the whole game, that makes it irrelevant as to how many different leaderboards are underneath a game. So if you have 100 different ways that you can play Zookeeper and only 2 ways you can play Donkey Kong, effectively they can only produce the same amount of competitive value to your PSI or ESI. And I don't know if that is what would make the most sense, because when we do it on a per leaderboard basis, then one game there's an infinite amount of points theoretically you can pull out of a game, as long as you're holding high standings on all of the leaderboards, and there's an infinite number of people playing on all the different leaderboards. Averaging it automatically will reduce that and demotivate people from trying to play on other leaderboards. They'll just try to go in and get a high score on one of the leaderboards, and if they do, any other score they have on any other leaderboard, if it's lower, will just bring them down in terms of what they're getting out of the whole thing. So I don't know if that's going to work. Oh, okay. I just read your comment. But anyway, look, I get the idea of what it's trying to achieve, and I've thought about it. God believe me, I think about this stuff all the time. terms of averaging like PSIs and all this stuff, and it always turns into, if you do certain things, it will demotivate people. It will actually hurt the competition on, or you know, so I don't know. Someone turned on the vacuum. Oh, it's on the other side of that door. Okay, so let's keep going. How would you do a leaderboard for a game like Smite? That is a very good question. Or for a game like League of Legends or something like that. I have a number of ideas, but here's the thing. Tournament wins, live tournament wins are one thing, right? You're getting a result, you're getting rankings from that. Twin Galaxies is, at the moment, it's not taking tournament wins and then trying to amass some sort of final data from that. It's taking individual accomplishments within video games and producing its results that way. So they're a little bit different. You know, the problem with, the thing, when you're competing on a Twin Galaxies leaderboard, you're competing with the world, and you're competing with all of the history of that game for that style of play with the world all the time. So it's always the same. When you're competing in a live tournament, every year the people who show up to compete are different. So it's not always the same level of competition. So the accomplishments aren't exactly the same. What Twin Galaxies needs to eventually move to is working closely with some of these team MOBA type games and determining with them what data really matters to them that we can track that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with, like, say, tournament wins, but there's accomplishments going on all the time in games like Smite or League that are not tracked and not measured, right? So we got to figure that out. But for the most part, you know, those games sort of exist in their own universe, and, you know, have their own silo and the tournaments that they do. And there's so many other video games and so many other champions out there that need to be recognized. That Twin Galaxies already has like a pretty full plate. You know, just mobile achievement, just achievement on mobile video gaming. It's totally, it needs more recognition. So we'll get there. Hopefully that makes sense. What's up, No Bad Day Gaming? Mitten C PC, you have a question. I heard yesterday that we have a shotgun challenge leaderboard. How does that work, and what are the rules? Yes, we have a shotgun challenge leaderboard. If you go to Twin Galaxies, I'll talk about that in a second. Hang on, I have a slide on this, so just hang on. I'm gonna get to that in a second. All right. Here we go. Next thing. Look at that! It's the slide that we're waiting for. Okay, so bounties. All right, let me take a breath here, because this is very exciting for me in general, and I want Twin Galaxies, the community, to be excited, and video game players to be excited. Twin Galaxies' system of adjudication is such that it really does do a good job of minimizing the ability to cheat on something. What that means is it's opening up this amazing opportunity for video game companies and for tournament holders or for locations to hold competitions online and know that the results of those competitions are going to be valid and verified and viewable. So, I've spoken in the past about Twin Galaxies building a bounty system to its world so that players can offer bounties on achievements inside Twin Galaxies, but also companies can do it too. Now let me just explain that a little bit to people who are new. Inside, I'm going to give you like a really basic look. I'm going to go over to Twin Galaxies website. Okay. So and I'll start from the top just so that people who are new can understand. This is me at the front page. I'm not logged in, no account, okay? Bounties, Twin Galaxies has a bunch of leaderboards, right? So if you click the drop-down menu, you say, let's look at the world rankings. You click at the world rankings. It presents you all of these platforms to compete on, that there's rankings on. I'll use arcade. I click on arcade, and there's all these arcade games, and you can click and go through them all, or you can type the arcade game you want. Let's try Zookeeper. No, how about this? Something everybody knows for sure. Pac-Man. Okay. So here's Pac-Man Arcade. Now, Pac-Man Arcade has different ways to compete on it. You can play for points at the factory speed. You can play the fastest completion of a perfect game. You can play for points on turbo speed. There's all these different ways, and there's rules set up, right? So we'll just start with the standard one, the one that everybody would assume. So we click Show. Here you have a list of all the scores. Here, I'll list out like at least 50 of the scores, right? All of these competitors have played Pac-Man. For those who don't know, 3,333,360 is the maximum number of points you can achieve on Pac-Man. It's called a perfect game. Okay, now let's just say somehow it was discovered that 3,333,361 points was possible. Or let's just say let's go down. Let's say you hate Ricky Morey for some reason, this player, and you want someone to push his score down from 11 to 12. Ideally, you'd be able to click this score here and place a bounty on it. Like, I'm offering 20 submission points, $100, $1,000, whatever it is. And so then people could go to the scoreboard and see what's bountied. Being able to place bounties on achievements in video gaming amongst the players, also allowing companies to come in and say, look, if you hold the number 2 position at this date and all this other stuff, here's what you get, is a very powerful thing. So one of the things that we are baby stepping into is the H1Z1 Shotgun Challenge bounty. So you asked, where can you get information, or where can you, so here, I'm back on the front page of twingalaxies.com, right? If you scroll down, you'll see news highlights, and you'll see here, update, H1Z1 King of the Kill Shotgun Challenge, right? Or you can keep scrolling down, and here it is here. You can click that, or here it is here. I'll click this because it takes us to bigger text. So I click this, and it starts to explain what the pricing is and whatever. It gives you links to the actual H1Z1 leaderboards. So let's say I click this link. I'll open it up in a new tab. I click that link, and in the new tab, it'll show the H1Z1 shotgun only regular server. See, there's the thing. It's a pizza under PC platform, and Jacob Hash is currently rank 1 with 19 kills. And if you wanted to submit on it, you would click the submit button, but you have to register up here. It's free, but then because if I click the submit button now, it says I'm not registered, right? And then you'll be able to submit your score. Now, let me go back to the challenge itself, because this is a bounty, right? So basically, here are the prizes. This is what's exciting. We started off offering a GTX 980. So let me back up here. We're going to give prizes to the top 10 on the leaderboard, okay? The prizes vary depending on where you are on the leaderboard in 30 days. You have 30 days to submit, okay? If you're there's 2 leaderboards. There's 2 challenges, okay? One challenge is the most kills you can get with a shotgun on this normal server, and you win the Battle Royale. And then there's another leaderboard, which is the most kills you can get Frenzy style with a shotgun only. So what it means is you don't have to win the Battle Royale. This is designed to be a catch-all, because if let's say you're trying to get as many kills with the shotgun as you can, and win the Battle Royale. And let's say you have like 25 kills, and you're like, yes, but then someone kills you, so you don't win the Battle Royale. you don't want that amazing performance wasted. So we have another leaderboard that you can submit that loss to, which is you got as many kills as possible, but you didn't win the battle royale. So that's what this one is here. So there's two, or I'm sorry, that's what this one is. Mouse. Yeah, this one says that a win is not required. You just kill as many people as you can with the shotgun. The other one is kill as many people as you can with a shotgun, but a win is required. Okay. Can the same person win both? Yes, the same person can win both, but you would have to have two different performances, because if one is a battle royale win, the other one is not a battle royale win. But yes, the same person can win both of them, and that should be fine. So here are the prizes, right? So there's 10 positions. Now, there's a qualifier. Because these are new leaderboards, we're just starting all the competition up. So there's not a lot of unique participants. However, if at the end of the 30 days there are at least 10 people on the leaderboard, all of the top prizes will open up, okay? And the top prizes for player 1 is $600 cash, courtesy of Echo Fox. So Rick Fox, for those in Twin Galaxies who don't know, Rick Fox has created an esports team brand called Echo Fox. He spent $1 million buying a League of Legends team. I don't know how much he spent buying. He bought a Counter-Strike team, and he's looking to put together other teams. And I'm clearly getting a signal that H1Z1 is interesting to Echo Fox. While he was here, we were doing the H1Z1 Taunt Fest, and he decided, you know what, I'm gonna put. He knows all about Twin Galaxies leaderboards, and he really believes in them. And so he said, I'm going to put money up as Echo Fox against the Twin Galaxies leaderboards for H1Z1. Let's see how that works out. So for each leaderboard, there's 2 of them, right? If you're in the number 1 position, you'll get $600 cash, a GTX 980 video graphics card. You'll get $25 of Daybreak cash. Then you'll get the H1Z1 black hoodie in both of the H1Z1 games. That's if you're in position 1 on either of the leaderboards. Position 2 is $300 cash. You get a Retron 5, $25 Daybreak cash, and you'll get a hoodie for the King of the Kill game. Third place is $100 cash, $25 Daybreak cash. Daybreak cash is in-game money, and then you get also the hoodie. Everything from 4 through 10 will get the hoodie. Okay, that's if there are at least 10 competitors on the leaderboard. If there aren't, if at the end of 30 days there's only 6 of you on the leaderboard, the big prizes are off the table. This is why you got to get other players to submit and get in on this. The big prizes come off the table, and basically everything else stays the same except the big prizes stay off the table. So you get Daybreak cash, you get the hoodies, and then it scales down from there. So that's what's going on. Now, the reason why I'm excited about this is if we're able to help H1Z1's community recognize achievement and have them, become an active part of Twin Galaxies, those players are being exposed to video game expertise across the spectrum because they're interacting with top arcade players, top Sega players. This is the only place where top players of all kinds sort of intermix. It's like, the great crossroads of top video game players. All that knowledge is being shared. I would encourage all of the Twin Galaxies community to adjudicate H1Z1 performances coming in. I think it helps thrust Twin Galaxies even further into modern gaming. And I think it also brings more attention to classic gaming from modern gamers who just don't know, because they're competitive. We're all video game players. We're competitive as soon as we know that there's something going on. So being able to have, essentially Echo Fox through all the leaderboards, it's like $2,000 he's thrown up. Twin Galaxies thrown up, 2 $600 video cards, 2 Retron 5s. You've got like $3,000 or $4,000 worth of stuff happening in this challenge. It's a good first step, right? If it works, we'll be able to apply this sort of stuff to arcade challenges, classic Nintendo challenges, bounties. We can start to reach out to companies and say, hey, let's bounty this up. So this is something that is just very exciting. And another thing which I know has got to have crossed Rick's mind is, especially like in H1Z1, and this will affect arcade players, this affects everybody. Right now, there's no way to really know who a good player is in an online game other than their Twitch stream or whatever. It's never vetted. If Echo Fox decides to start to recruit its pro team based on the leaderboard standings at Twin Galaxies, because here, look, you can see how good they are. You can see how good they are relative to each other. You could see their play styles. So when you're putting together a team, we need a guy who's really good at this. We need a guy who's really good at this. So it's not necessarily just about being in rank 1. But if you're up there, you're getting exposure, and Echo Fox starts looking at that as an opportunity, well then Cloud9 and Team Liquid, all these other places will start to look at it too, and it will start to affect mobile team structures, arcade-type team events. So it's just a really good first step in creating these opportunities for the players, and that's what Twin Galaxies is trying to do for this. H1Z1 is sort of that first experimental thing. But I can already tell you, we're getting some of the top players of H1Z1 sending in performances. It's pretty amazing to see that. So hopefully that made sure. I'm gonna look at the chat. I've been talking. RDSQ, see, yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna be doing more and more challenges. I mean, look, if you're a company like Alienware or Main Gear, how do you really give away a computer? You'd want to do offerings all the time, but you can't. You can only do them at live tournament events because that's the only way you know people aren't cheating, because they're sitting there right in front of you, right? So all the opportunities are like at these live events, which are great. Not saying they should go away, but they only do that because they don't have any other way. But with the Twin Galaxies leaderboards, you actually have a way of saying, you know what? On this game, we'll give it 60 days. Whoever's in the top 5 will get this stuff, right? And it actively promotes their product. It actively promotes interest. It's like a good marketing thing, and it's worth it to them to put it up. And you as a player is like, crap, now across all of Twin Galaxies, shit, I could probably earn $100,000 this year just claiming bounties. Just from the corporate stuff coming in. Forgetting what other players, because there are other players who will put up a score. You should be able to put up an awesome score and then just say, you know what, my shit's so awesome, I'll put $100 up on anybody who beats this. And Twin Galaxy should be able to handle that transaction, right? Like, he can just put it into the Twin Galaxy system, so then when someone claims it, it's just all automated and the whole thing. I think it's a really cool way of bringing more fun into competitive gaming. Meanwhile, we're building statistics. It's still the IMDb of a video game player. Bam, claimed this bounty. Bam, got this. Bam, did this. Here, record here, did this. All of that. So that's the idea. I hope that. Can I sponsor 196 bounties? Listen. What's the prize? Thanks, boss. Thank you for the kind words. We're trying to do stuff. So let me go back to my cool presentation. Controversy. Now, for those of you who are new to Twin Galaxies, you won't have experienced any of this. But for those of us who've been with Twin Galaxies for a while, everybody knows that the video game industry is filled with drama and controversy, and Twin Galaxies is definitely part of the whole universe. And I just wanted to say a couple things, because I look around, I see what people might want to say or try to imply, and all this other stuff in general. And this just dovetails off of the Right to Game campaign, where society in general has this negative downward force on video game players because they think that everybody's wasting their time. And they think that because they don't understand why it's not a waste of time. And it's Twin Galaxies' job to help society understand why it's not a waste of time. And it's much easier to explain that when you have a statistical record of accomplishments and achievements that everybody can regard and understand, just like the IMDb does. You know, it's like, oh, you're an actor? Oh, yeah. Well, what have you done? They go to the IMDb to see what the actor has done. Or if you're a television writer, or it's the same thing. You go to Twin Galaxies. Oh, wow, he's done all, he. There are a lot of people out there who are negative, and they don't want to. It's like, I don't begrudge anyone their opinion, or even if they want to be negative, that's okay. Man, I've been in the game space for a long time. Our personalities, us as players, some of the reasons we get into gaming, you know, sometimes we're faced with a lot of negative things. Sometimes we're depressed. Sometimes video gaming is our only outlet. So there's no attacks on anybody who is negative or, you know, overly sensitive or nothing like that. But what I want to say is, you know, don't let that stuff, if you hear it or you see it, get you down, you know? It's Twin Galaxies is here as a positive thing. It's here to help and do the right things. I really believe in video game players of all types, kinds. The enthusiast, the video game enthusiast, Twin Galaxies really represents that. And it's, you know, we all as a group really need to try to put energy to come together as video game enthusiasts instead of always trying to divide each other. I think we tend to divide each other because we're constantly being told by society how much time we're wasting or how bad we are. We should be doing something else more productive. And so, you know, when you're getting hit with that much negativity, that can be frustrating. You're going to express it amongst your peers. You know, so it's okay. You know, it's like, don't get so, you know, I don't get angry at any of this stuff, but I do worry that, you know, not everybody's me. Not everybody can just sort of see it for what it is and just appreciate, okay, well, this person is saying something bad, but they're just expressing a frustration or their feeling, or, okay, that's all right, you know? Not everybody's like that, and can get sort of dragged down by it mentally. And I just wanted to say, like, look, if you're participating in the Twin Galaxies community, you're special. You are important and you matter, and you're part of this rising nation of video game enthusiasts that are interested in being recognized, helping to show why the activity is a worthwhile thing, because it is. It most certainly is, and it leads to so many jobs and career opportunities and knowledge. And it, you know, it's not all about just because you're playing video games now. That might lead you to other interests. You can become whatever, right? People need to understand that it's just as valid an activity as anything else. And Twin Galaxies is here to support and help that. And I just don't want the negativity you might see to bring you down. Just you stay up, you know? If you're here, you're part of the community. We're all in this together, and you know, I'm no better than anybody else. And that's really all I wanted to say. Don't just, you know, it's all right. We're going to argue. We're going to get pedantic about things. We're going to make fun of each other. We're going to be rude. We're going to do this, but at the same time, man, we're doing some amazing things in these games. We are learning. We are helping others. We're not bad people. You know, it's all right. Stay up, man. That's pretty much all I wanted to say. And I have to go. I got 15 seconds, but I want to thank you for watching Twin Galaxies, State of the Galaxies, and participate. Please participate as much as you can. We've got more cool things coming, and game over.